like to bring everyone's attention to is the forward-looking statements I'll be making, and would encourage you to go to our website and read the disclaimer. Where I think I might start the presentation is here on slide 3, and some of the things that ultimately sets Newcore Gold apart. One of the things is the management team and board involved. For a company of our size, it's rare that you see a team that has so many shareholder wins under its belt. Institutional backing is another thing that it kind of differentiates us. We've got about 35% institutional ownership, and we'll talk about that in a few slides. We've also got a very well-aligned management and board of directors through our 32% shareholder ownership in the company, and ultimately we think as shareholders first and make our decisions as shareholders, and are very well aligned from that perspective. Ghana is a great country to operate in. It is currently Africa's largest gold producer. Our current resource, it sits at about 1.2 million ounces, primarily in the oxide category, and so a great resource to be building off of. We just announced this morning that we're going to be drilling an additional 50,000 meters. So that, combined with the 8,000 meters that we've drilled so far, is the largest exploration and drill program that there's ever been on our project. So we're very excited for the news flow that's going to come from that over the next number of months. We've got a great capital structure, 99 million shares outstanding, and always like to highlight that we've got no warrants. And I think that speaks to the quality of the team and the asset, that we've ultimately never needed to issue warrants to attract investors. And gold, I mean, I think everyone's tuning in today because they're aligned with our view that gold is a great place to be at the moment, and there's a lot of room to move from here. Talked about the board of directors and management team briefly. My background is I spent 15 years on the investment banking side of the business, working with a number of companies. 12 of those years were in London, ASX, TSX, raising billions of dollars for those companies and advising on transactions around the world. A number of those companies with assets in Africa. Greg Smith, he's our VP Exploration, 30 years experience, has run a number of programs around the world from an exploration perspective, and ultimately has been working on the Enchi project on and off for the past 10 years. So great experience. Mal Carvasca, she comes from a capital markets background, private equity, as well as working on the corporate side in a corporate development and investor relations role, as well as Dan Wilson. He's our country manager and has very good relationships with all the groups in country. In terms of our board, Doug Forrester, when I joined as CEO, Doug stepped up as chairman. He was the CEO of Newmarket Gold, which is arguably one of the biggest success stories in the past 5 years in the gold space. Calibre Mining, you'll see they just put out their Q3 results today, and you'll see it's hitting new all-time highs, about $500 million of shareholder value created there and counting. Greg Smith was the previous CEO of Calibre, and Doug Forrester, Blaine Johnson are co-founders of that company, as well as other companies like Northern Empire and Integra Gold. Both Doug Hurst and George Salamis are on our board. So again, for a company of our size, it's rare that you find a team like this, and ultimately one of the things that I think differentiates us from others. ESG, it's a core part of our focus, and something that's very important to us and our institutional shareholders. We do a number of things in country to make sure that we're giving back and ultimately pushing towards a number of the initiatives that sustainable development initiatives that have been laid out by the UN. Some of those things, donating computers to the local schools. As part of this recent drill program, we've installed a number of water wells in the various communities. And then obviously with COVID, our employees and contractors are of the utmost importance to us, and we've got all the procedures in place from that perspective, including daily temperature checks and all the PPE that you'd hope to have for any company in the exploration space. We talked about capital structure, 99 million shares outstanding, well-aligned management team and insiders with our 32% interest, and good, strong institutional support. Some of those investors are listed here in the bottom left-hand corner. As part of our financing that we just closed yesterday, we've got another 15 institutional investors who joined us, so very well backed from that perspective, and I think that's great to have that support for us to be able to grow the company on a go-forward basis. Equally as important, I think, is having good support from from the investment banks. And 2.5 months after relaunching Newcore, I think having the support of Cormark, Haywood, Raymond James, Sprott, and Stifel is a real credit to the asset and the team involved. We relaunched in middle of May, ultimately kicked off an 8,000 meter drill campaign August 8th. And as of yesterday, we just announced the closing of the financing, and today the addition of another 50,000 meters, which will drill between now and May of next year. In terms of the asset itself and the country, Ghana is Africa's largest gold producer. It surpassed South Africa in 2018. It's the 7th largest gold producer globally. So a great country to be operating in, where you've got a very well aligned government in terms of jobs and the impact it has on the economy, as well as the tax base, as well as skilled labor. Lots of great skilled labor and services in country to help support our efforts. We're located in the southwest corner of Ghana. If we now zoom in on that and have a closer look, we're situated on the Sefwi-Bibiani belt. A lot of great neighbors along the belt. Directly to the north of us, we've got Kinross's Chirano mine, about 5.5 million ounces and growing. If you look at some of the recent exploration success they've had, producing about 200,000 ounces a year. To the north of that, you've got the Bibiani mine, which sits at about 6.5 million ounces. And then to the north of that, you've got one of Newmont's 2 producing mines, the Ahafo mine, which has about a 15.5 million ounce resource. And directly to the south of us, if you see here, you can see that we butt up against the Cote d'Ivoire border. And directly on the other side, you've got Teranga's Afema asset, which if you follow that company, you'll see that they've been talking very positively about a lot of the success they've had in the first half of the year at Afema, and that it's becoming a more important part of their overall portfolio. Looking at the asset in a little more detail, we're 216 square kilometer properties, so true district scale opportunity from the north end of our property down to the south end of the property. It's a 40 kilometers in length. And where the mineralization sits is you've got the main Bibiani shear, which runs down to the west of us. And then you've got second and third order shears, which ultimately splay off of that main Bibiani shear. We've got 3 of those primarily running through our property, which if you add up the strike length of those, you've got about 100 kilometers of strike length. So again, true district scale opportunity. We've identified about 25 targets across the overall property, of which we've only drilled on 6 to date. We put out an updated resource in September, 1.2 million ounces, primarily in the oxide category. A lot of historical work has been done on this project, so about 49,000 meters of RC and diamond drilling that feed into that updated resource that we put out. And I think that also, that 49,000 meters of historical drilling also highlights how big this 58,000 meters that we're currently drilling is, and how meaningful it could be to our overall resource. So we're really excited about that. If we look at that 58,000 meters, and what the plan is for that, we've currently got 1 rig, which is just finishing up the 8,000 meters. We will keep that rig on site. We'll add another 2 rigs by the end of this year, and then ultimately add another 2 or 3 rigs in Q1 of next year and ramp up to full exploration kind of in February or March, and look to get that full additional 50,000 meters completed by May of next year. That's when the rainy season starts up, and quite keen to get that done before the raining season, at which point we'll reduce the overall rigs on site. In terms of the drilling itself, our current resource sits at Boeing, Suem, and Niam. That's the 1.2 million ounces. So we will continue to step out along strike, as well as there's some big gap areas, which I'll highlight in a minute, within those resources, which we'll focus on. And then we'll go back to areas like Kojina Hill, Quackrom, and Arati, and ultimately we've had historical drilling there that has had very good results, which you can see on this map here. We'll go back and look to move those towards the resource category, as well as drill areas like Naquanta, Suem South, and other anomalies where there's been no prior drilling done. Airborne geophysics works very well on our project, as well as soil sampling. And when you look at this map here, you can see that the airborne geophysics lines up incredibly well with the soil sampling that we've done across the project. Looking at one of the largest anomalies, which we'll get to drilling early next year, is Suem South. It's about a 3.5 by 2.5 kilometer anomaly. And ultimately, we're in the process of building a road down to that, and we'll start trenching shortly down there. This is a slide that we ultimately like to kind of try to highlight our district scale potential for the project, as well as the infrastructure. We do have a paved road which goes directly through our property. It's got a power line along it as well, so very well positioned from that perspective. And then again, across the entire property, we've identified about 25 different targets. And over time, what we ultimately want to do is move advanced targets towards drill tested targets, and ultimately drill tested targets towards deposits. Currently, again, our resource sits at Boeing, Suem, and Niam. These three areas we've already drilled and are going to do follow-up drilling on. And then these are new areas which we're ultimately going to drill for the first time. Looking at the three resource areas, Boeing, Suem, and Niam, this is where I was talking about, the deposits being ultimately open along strike, which is a big opportunity for us, as well as these big gap zones. The only reason these gaps exist is because there hasn't been any historical drilling done, and part of this program is going to be to go and put some holes in there and ultimately look to expand the overall resource at all three of these areas. As well as, if you look closely here, you can see there's a bunch of mineralization which sits just outside of the pits at Boeing, Suem, and Niam, and ultimately we're doing drilling to bring those ounces into the pits, hopefully. But where the big opportunity really exists is drilling at depth. To date, we've only averaged about 50 meters of depth across the project, focused on the oxides with a maximum depth of 175 meters. If we now look at a cross section of Kinross's Chirano mine, again, 50 kilometers to the north of us, where you see a lot of these greenstone hosted deposits really start to grow in size and double and triple in size, is ultimately when you get down deeper and into the sulfides. And that's something that to date we haven't tested. We look at the level of oxidization along our deposit here, and for the first time with the 15 million and 50,000 meters that we just raised, we're going to start to put deep holes into this project and start to test the opportunity at depth, and hopefully prove out a very similar model to what we're seeing at Chirano. But at the same time, we will continue to drill the oxides. That's a real opportunity for us to expand resource. So we'll drill the oxides at Suem, Boeing, Niam, as well as go back to areas that have had limited drilling done in the past, like Arati, Quackrom, and Kojina Hill, and then start to drill some of the other anomalies that we've identified, like Suem South, Nquanta, and others, and start to expand, hopefully, the opportunity to grow the overall resource. So at a high level, that's the opportunity that our Newcore shareholders have seen, and hopefully will attract new shareholders down the road. A top tier management team who's very well aligned through our 32% equity interest. Very good capital structure, 99 million shares out with no warrants. Ghana is Africa's largest gold producer, so great jurisdiction to be operating in, and ultimately big opportunity to potentially grow the resource through the drill bit. So I'd encourage you to go and have a look at our website to find out more about the company, and ultimately follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, where we regularly put out updates out. So yeah, look forward to hopefully having you join us as shareholder. And if you already are a shareholder, we appreciate your support, and look forward to creating significant shareholder value for you as we continue to drill out this project.